Please help me welcome our 2020-2021 Program Quality Director, Distinguished Toastmaster, Clarisse Kresser. Welcome, Clarisse.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Logistics Manager, Distinguished Toastmaster, past District Governor Dennis Ham. Good morning, everyone, District 33. This is such a wonderful opportunity to be able to see, I think, most of you again for another week. Most of you attended our TLI last Saturday, and I see some very familiar names and faces. Today, this is all about pathways for the next 2 hours. And for those of you who signed up, I think most of you will be continuing on to the next session, which is going to be on Basecamp Manager Basics. But today, the focus is about getting started on pathways, learning how to select a path, how to get through a level and a path, and completing your level 1. Level 1 is the first level in pathways. And if you're able to get through level 1, the remaining 4 levels on the path that you select will be easy, will be much easier. And that's because in pathways, especially when you're starting with something new on pathways, there is a learning curve, a steep learning curve that you'll have to go through. It's not just becoming familiar with pathways, but it's also becoming familiar with the structure and the infrastructure on how to access it and use it. So this morning, we're going to go through this, and I want to give you heads up on a couple things. This is not the normal kind of PowerPoint presentation I would do with so many slides, but there is a purpose in my insanity of having all these slides, and it is because most of these slides have screenshots of what you will be seeing when you are on your pathway, on pathways. So do not worry about if you're overwhelmed. What I'd like you to do is just take a deep breath and try to absorb the basic gist of what today is. We're going to have at least over 80 people or 80 members online this morning, and all of you will have different experiences on pathways. Some are new, some will be somewhat experienced, others will be more experienced. So this presentation is really tailored to try to address the variety of experiences around in this virtual room this morning. So with that, I'd like to start off with number 1. I'm going to please, I'm going to be also the listener, because one of you will be selected towards the end when we have a Q&A. I'm going to be giving away a $5 gift card to Starbucks for those of you that like Starbucks. And I'll be asking, I'll pose one person to do a question and answer that question, and that person who gets it correct will win that gift card. So please pay attention. All right, so first off, I want to start off with sharing my screen with this presentation. And Dennis, could you confirm that you can see this, or if I could see some nods, if you could see this PowerPoint? Okay, I see nods. So with that, today is about pathways orientation. And the hardest part of any new project and anything what we do has to do with just getting started. Getting started, and I applaud all of you who have not yet started, that you're starting today. And for those of you who have started but haven't quite progressed, you did the hardest part already by being here today, and even getting oriented on pathways. I also want to share that a copy of this presentation will be available as a PDF handout, as well as some other resources that are going to be available through this link. I will share this later. It is a Google Share Drive. We are also recording this presentation, and will be available on our District 33 website. The recording should only show the slides and not all of you, because we don't have permission slips, so to speak, or press or release forms from all of you. So this one should only show the presentation. Today, or this morning, I'm going to cover 6 areas. We're going to cover how do you enter pathways, how do you select a path, how do you open a path, how do you launch your first project, how do you complete your first project, and completing level 1. What's involved? First, you need to always, before you start on Pathways, you need to log on to your Toastmaster account. So you go to www.toastmasters.org, and the key one that you always want to go to is you go to what's called Pathways. There is a menu bar here, and you click once, and you will see a number of options. You want to go to Base Camp. Base Camp is your headquarters. It is your starting point where you will start working on Pathways and where you start, so to speak, on your Pathways journey. Base Camp, remember that term, Base Camp. You will know on this one here, you're not logged in, because when you're logging in, you click on Login, you're going to get this window, again, Pathways and Base Camp. Then you're going to get this window, your login window. You enter your username, which is your email, and your password to log in into your account. If you're logging on for the first time, follow the instructions here and just enter your email, click on Forget Password, and it will set you up to prompt you to set up your account, your TI account. Once you log on, you will notice it will have a welcome with your name. That way you know that you are logged on. And when you click on Base Camp, you will see these 3 boxes. You will see one here that says Choose Your Path. Another one here is Access My Path through Base Camp. And another one that says Navigator. Now, I'm going to stress that what I'm doing today is I'm going through the basics. I'm not going to go through all the nitty-gritty details, just enough to get you through your first part of Pathways. When you are once on, then you need to select your path. How do you select your path? You do that by, when you go into this window, you're going to click on this, Continue to Path Selection. That is how you're going to choose your path, and you can see that clearly here. It says Choose Your Path. You, with your membership dues, you already have 1 path per club that you already have as part of your membership dues. Once you select your path, you click on that, you're going to see this. This is where you're going to you're going to begin the part of selecting your path. You have the option of either doing a digital version, or there are, for limited paths that you could pick, for an extra $25, actually get printed copies, paper copies or manuals that you can actually have delivered to your home. You can select either one. It is recommended that you do the digital path, because you'll have more bells and whistles, you'll have more selection. There's limited selection for the printed path, but you also have that option for the printed part. There are 11 paths currently that you can select from, and the 11 paths are listed here, covering different aspects of leadership. There's an engaging humor, there are things related to innovative planning, motivational strategies, persuasive influence, presentation mastery, strategic relationships, team collaboration, leadership development, and visionary communications. There's a lot that you can pick from. But when you're looking at, 11 paths, how in the world would I know which one to pick? The great thing is, and before I go into you have 11 paths, you also have 5 levels. Every path has 5 levels that you will be working on. And for each path and each level, it builds upon the communication and leadership skills with each level. And so as you progress from level 1 all the way up to level 5, it culminates into, more comprehensive work and more combination of where you're both using your communication and leadership skills. Level 1 is the same for all 11 paths. It's always starting with the mastering of fundamentals that cover things with the basic structure of a speech, icebreakers, evaluation and feedback, and doing a speech that involves some research and basic presenting. That is the same for all levels, all paths. And then level 2 will now start to speak about leadership aspects. When you get to level 3, then you start to combine both the communication and leadership component, and it starts to build upon your skills as you go on to level 4. And then level 5 will involve more comprehensive involvement that involves team building and combining your communication and leadership skills that you developed and learned about within the previous levels. Beginning in level 3, 4, and 5, you notice in here there are elective projects. Now, these are unique. This is showing on motivational strategies, one of the paths. When you get into level 3, 4, and 5, you will see that the different elective projects that you can choose from. So for example, in level 3, you have to do one of the other projects, but you'll see here you get to choose 2 of the following to complete for your level 3. You select, and the great thing about Pathways is you are able to customize what best meets your goals for both your communication and leadership skills that you would want to pursue. So this is where the customization takes place, where you can actually choose for the different projects. Level 4, you choose one of the following areas, and then level 5, you choose one. But these involve, as you get to level 4 and 5, it may be one project, but there's a lot that's involved in that. There's a lot more time and effort and effort involved in that. So you have the 5 levels, again, for every single path. Basecamp allows you to you can take the time to view a description of all the paths. And when you do that, in the previous window, you can click on this and you can view all 11 in great detail and make your selection there. The other way is you can take an online assessment. Basecamp has an online assessment tool that allows you to answer a series of questions. And when you click on the Take Assessment, it will actually give you your top 3 choices that for your consideration that best matches your responses on the online assessment. So depending on what you pick, how you want to select your path, we recommend you consider taking the online assessment, because you can always go back and choose another path if you want. But in this example, we're going to click on Take the Assessment. And when you do that, like I said, you'll be asked a series of questions. I'm not going to show all the questions on here, but there'll be things that you'll just click, answer the question, and there is this percentage grid that will show how far you are progressing in your assessment. So you just keep on answering the question, click on Next, and you'll get through the assessment. And this is just an example. Which of the following topics is most related to the personal and professional goals? All of these are meant, again, to assess what your goals are around communication and leadership. When you have finished your assessment, Basecamp will give you the top 3 paths for you to consider. They will even highlight what is the best match for you based on your assessment. So you can choose to take either one. And if you say you choose one of these, that's the path that you've selected. You can also choose, say you don't like any of the 3, you can go back to reviewing all the other all the other paths, and select the one that you feel best meets your communication and leadership skill goals. Now, once you've selected your path, the next part is, how do you open your path to start your Pathways lessons or your Pathways journey? Now we're going into how do you open a path. Going back again, you go back to your login window, but you always want to go into Basecamp. Basecamp, again, is your headquarters and where you start Pathways. You can get it through the website, and whenever you go on Pathways, click on Basecamp, and you're going to get back to this, the Pathways learning experience. This is where we started on choosing your path. Now you're going to say, access your path through Basecamp. It will show you the clubs that you belong to. You just select the club that you belong to, that you want to actually have it counted for your path. Then you're going to click on Go to Basecamp. Once you click on Basecamp, then it'll take you to this window. It will welcome you. You will know that you're on Basecamp because it'll welcome you. Even your Pathways knows your name. So it says, welcome to Basecamp, Clarisse. Where you want to start to access your path. Basecamp has been revamped for those of you that have tried or had used Pathways a few months ago. There have been some recent updates, and this presentation includes the recent updates that are reflected on Basecamp. Here you will always start with your path and learning. So you're going to access your path, and it says here, access your path through here. You click on that. Now, before I go on to my next slide, I want to highlight on here, when you are on this page on Basecamp, there is a video, a tutorial to give you, it's I think like a 2 or 3 minute video that allows you to go into the basics of how do you visit and what are the key things to know about Basecamp on the homepage. And you can play this as well to give you more familiarity on Basecamp for you. But once you click on here, you access your path. You're going to click on that. And before I do that, Basecamp also, you want to check the settings on your computer. And Basecamp has made it easy. So if you scroll down to the bottom of this page, which looks like this, you scroll down, you're going to click on this. It says check compatibility. So click on check compatibility, because one of the things you want to make sure is that your pop-up blockers, that you have enabled that. And that is because on Pathways, if you can imagine the screen that you're looking on right now, when you start your Pathways lesson, there's going to be another screen that will appear in front of the screen that you were seeing before. It's going to pop up. And if you don't enable your pop-up blockers, then you will not be able to see that screen. So it's important that you click on this, and Basecamp can tell you whether or not your pop-up blockers have been enabled or not. So you want to click on that, and it'll go through your computer system to make sure that everything is all set. The other important piece is the browser that you use, meaning how do you get on the internet? Some people use Chrome, some people may use Internet Explorer, some people may use Safari if you have a Mac. Currently, Pathways does not work well with Safari, so do not use Safari when you're using Pathways. Use some of the other browsers, such as Chrome or Internet Explorer. All right. Then, once you've set your configuration, you've already selected your path, now you've already opened your path, you're going to launch your first project. How you launch your first project is you're going back again to Basecamp. And you remember this window, you're going to click on this, access your path through learning materials. And you will see this. It says paths and learning. Now in here, this is actually my Basecamp. I am working on 2 paths. So if you have only one, you should only see one path that you selected. You will want to do this. You want to open the curriculum, because you're going to launch and open the curriculum that is specific to your path. You click on Open Curriculum, and you will see something. You will see this. Now this is another path, and I want to show you this, because if I showed you mine, it wouldn't show 0% because I've already started working on it. So when you open your path, you will always start, this is the first time you're working on Pathways, you will start with level 1. This will show you for this particular path, it's called innovative planning. There are 5 levels. You'll see this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one shows the projects. These are projects. Oops. These are projects. Projects for level 1. There's an icebreaker, there's an evaluation and feedback, and research and presenting. This one shows level 1, and this vertical or this horizontal bar, percentage bar, will show you your progress on how far you've progressed on level 1. This circle here is the entire path in terms of how much you've progressed on your path. And as you complete each level, this part will be checked off for level 1 once you've completed, and so forth as you progress for each of the levels. So this again shows your progress on your path. This one shows the progress on the level that you're in. When you start on your first project, in this case level 1, it's your icebreaker, you're going to see this activate button. You click on the activate button, and you're going to see this button says launch. You're going to click on launch. I want to highlight that when you get on Basecamp and on this, the color, Pathways has changed the color. So rather than seeing maroon, you're probably going to see blue. It's still the same thing. It's still the same information that's on there. Once you click on launch, then it's a matter of completing. How do you complete your first project, which in this case is your icebreaker? When you click on launch, you're going to see this. Let me minimize my window. This window literally has popped up in front of your other screen. And this is, if you purchased an actual manual, this is actually it's a cover of the manual. So what you see here online is what you would see on a paper version. What's important is you want to maximize this window so that it fills up your entire screen. And the way how you maximize it is by looking at this box and you click on it and it'll expand and fill up your screen. And you'll see this says Icebreaker Level 1 Project Begin. And so you're going to click on, in this case, this is a screenshot, but when you put your cursor on the begin, it'll have a hand and you will just click on to begin your path or your project. When you start off on any level in your project, there will always be what's called a before assessment of your skills. This is really important that you do. This is, it may seem like basic for you, but it also serves as a trigger for the Basecamp system to know whether or not you've started and you've finished a particular project. So it's important that you do your before and assessment skills. How you do that is you answer the question by clicking on whatever your responses are on a scale of 1 to 4. When you finish that, then you would click on next and you would go on to the next question. The before and assess your skills has 6 questions that you would answer. And you click on next and next. And when I'm not showing all of the screenshots for the project, but when you have finished, you're going to before your assessment, you're going to see things related to your assessment. And what you'll notice is what's embedded in Pathways is you can actually download different worksheets that are designed to help you develop your icebreaker speech. For those of you that would like to have a worksheet in terms of how do you structure a speech, we have several members who have that experience, but you don't need it. These are all resources that you can download, but hold on to that. You don't have to, there's other ways to get this, but I want to let you know that these worksheets and forms are available as you go through your lesson online. The other is when you finish, it will give you your assignment that you're supposed to complete. And the project checklist is a PDF file that will go through what you are doing for your speech project that you will be delivering in your club. Now, when you go into your evaluation, it will ask you to do your evaluation. These resources here, what's called evaluation resource is your evaluation form that you will need to print or to send to make sure that your evaluator has that. This one allows you to print the project that you're doing. And in this case, your project is your icebreaker speech. And again, it shows again the worksheet that you can use to help you design and help you put together and prepare your speech for your icebreaker. All of these are resources that are available for you. Now, when you have finished, and you don't need to go through all the entire lesson. The great thing about Basecamp is if you need to take a break, you can take a break and log off. When you get back on to Basecamp, it should take you back to where you left off. And once you have done that, you will, and on the bottom of this screen, let me just show you here. On the bottom of every page, there is like a table of contents. So when you click on this section on the bottom, it shows you all of the sections here of the path of the level that you're in, or the particular project that you're doing. You started off with your skills, and then it goes into all these other things. This is part of the icebreaker. What I wanted to show is that when you're finished with this particular section, you will know that because you'll be given your assess your skills after. This is the one I was telling you. You need to do your assess your skills before. You need to do your assess your skills after. They are the same questions. And when you do that, you'll know that because it says after. You answer the questions like you did before. Click on the number that best corresponds to your response. You click on next. And when you reach the last question, it's very important you click on submit, because submit will trigger the Basecamp to give you your results of your before and your assessment skills. So unless you see this at the end, you need to make sure before you progress and before you tell your VPE you are done, okay? Before you go into the next phase, you need to be able to see this, your before and your after. If you do not see this, go back to you either didn't click on or you didn't, perhaps you didn't answer one of the questions in your after assessment or your before. Go back to that and click on the responses. And you need to make sure that you have this on your screen in order to move forward. And it's important for your Basecamp manager as well, who will be responsible for approving at your levels and your paths in order for you to progress and in order for you to have awards submitted on pathways. This is very important to have for multiple reasons. Now, once you've completed your first project and you're going to go through all the lessons, okay, now we're going to talk about how do I complete level 1? As a member, you're going to do, there are two things that I want to highlight. One has to do with, as a member, you're going to complete projects, and you're also going to complete levels. When you complete projects, that means, again, completing you can go back and start over or start wherever you left off on your project, but always complete your assess skills after. You don't need approval to continue on to the next project, but it's important that every time you progress that you have this done. When you're completing a level as a member, what you need to do is, and I'll show how you do this, you need to do what's called a level completion task in your path. And you also need to get approval by your Basecamp manager in order to continue to the next level, say level 2. How do you do that? So how you do that is this. You'll notice when we were back on that window that showed your path, it showed the progress of your levels. This one shows when you've already completed your icebreaker, your evaluation and feedback, and research and presenting. You need to make sure that you have these check marks. If you don't have these check marks, again, go back to your before and assessment skills, because most likely that's where the problem is. You want to be sure that you have these check marks before you go on to the next project. Once you have all three, your level 1 will show that you have it 75% completed in terms of what you have to have done. And in terms of your path, you've completed 15%. How you go and do a level 1 completion is something that only the member can do, and it is highlighted here. Once you have all three of these check marks, then you can actually do this part, level 1 completion. And you'll notice it says activate. What you're going to do is you're going to click on activate. Once you click on activate, it will say mark is complete, and you have to do a drop down, and I think you have to click on that. This is very important for you as a member to do, to make sure that you are now done and with level 1. In level 1, there are 5 speech projects, and I summarized it here on this slide. You have an icebreaker speech that is 4 to 6 minutes. You have the evaluation and feedback section. You have to do 2 speeches. It's actually 1 speech. You do your first speech, which is 5 to 7 minutes. And the speeches that you do in level 1 is of your choice, of anything that you want to do. Since you're doing an icebreaker, you could perhaps do an icebreaker speech, something about you that your club has not heard about that you want to share. You do that speech as your first speech. Your evaluator will give you your feedback and evaluation form. And on that form, it will highlight the things that they highlight and suggest that you do differently or improve. The purpose of your second speech in the evaluation and feedback is a redo of your first speech, and you have to be sure that you incorporated the feedback from the evaluator who evaluated your first speech. In fact, your evaluator of this second speech is going to note whether or not you did in fact incorporate the changes and suggestions. That is part of that project. The other one is for evaluation and feedback. You're not giving a speech, but you're serving as an evaluator. So you can, when you serve as an evaluator in your club, you can receive credit for a level 1 speech project for the evaluator speech for your evaluation and feedback. What happens is you need to let your base camp or your VPE know that you want to serve as an evaluator to get credit for your level 1 speech. And that's important because your VPE will have to select and identify who is going to evaluate you. It's basically the evaluator of the evaluator. And the person who is serving as your evaluator on your evaluation speech, which is your 2 to 3 minute evaluation, is only doing a written evaluation. They will be given a form, which they will complete after after the meeting, and will evaluate what you did and will give you your evaluation form of your evaluation. Then the last project is a 5 to 7 minute speech where you have to research something of any topic and you have to present it. The guidelines are clear in the project. You have to show data. You have to clearly show that you did some research, and it's on any topic of your choosing, and it's a 5 to 7 minute speech. Now, once you've completed all of this, you've completed also your speech projects. So in summary, when you're completing a level, you're doing your online courses or your online curriculum or your lessons on Basecamp. The other is you have to complete your speech projects. You have to do both those things in order to complete level 1. It is highly recommended that each member keeps hard copies or electronic copies of all your speech evaluations that you have. Please, please, and I say this as a VPE, do not rely on the VPE to always have your evaluation forms for all your speech projects. You, as a member, should keep those copies and be able to give that to your VPE to verify. And that's important because on the next step, when you're evaluating, I'll go over that in a few minutes, but it's important in order for you to receive the credit for your level 1 completion. Now, the next thing I want to cover is the other resources that are available on Basecamp. I know that it's so hard, what evaluation forms, where do I find it? And the updates that have been made on Basecamp actually make it much easier now. There is a tab now where, remember, we accessed your path through this part, Paths and Learning. There are 2 tabs I want to highlight here that are of great resource to everyone, to members as well as Basecamp managers. There's a section here on speech evaluations. This is where you can access all the evaluation forms for all the projects here. And also here, tutorials and resources. There's a variety of tutorials and resources that are now available as a video and also as an online class. So let me show you as an example for the evaluation. Now, again, this is the evaluation component. If you click on speech evaluations, you'll see this. Evaluation resources at the bottom of the page. So as I scroll up, if you can imagine scrolling up, these are all the evaluation forms on Pathways, sorted alphabetically by name. And I highlighted Icebreaker because that's the first speech project that everyone works on level 1. But all the other ones are available here for you to click and download as a PDF. So if anything else fails, go back to Pathways, get back on this page, and you could download your particular Pathways or evaluation form that you need for your project. Have that available and make sure that your evaluator has that and your VPE has your speech information so that you have all the forms that you need. But that is now available here under Basecamp Manager in a much easier and more accessible way as a PDF that you can download on your computer. The next one is under tutorials and resources. This has actually, I think, been added as of a couple weeks ago on Basecamp. There are now tutorials and resources of everything you can imagine on Pathways. So I'm highlighting here tutorials. So things that I just went over on how do you access your path? How do you complete a level? How do you complete a project? You can also watch, I think these are like 2 to 3 minute videos that will go through, not just it's not screenshots, it's actually live. They actually go through, not live, but you can actually see a person clicking on the screen. You can also watch this as a video. And again, it's available you go to the tutorials and resources, and you will see under tutorials, you can click on tutorials and it'll give you all, there are 6 results in here, 6 tutorials that you could watch, that you could access. Evaluation resources, if you click on that, it'll get you back to the evaluation forms. Project descriptions, if you want to know all the descriptions of all the paths and all the projects, it's there as well. There are a bunch of different things that you can access through this tutorials and resources section. I hope that this was helpful. I know we went through a lot of slides. Like a show of, I will be sending you an evaluation. I hope that this was helpful. We are about to start the next session, which is the Basecamp Manager Basics for VPEs. And I know many of you are going to stay on. We will send the link to this video, and let me show I will share in an email with the evaluation form the link to the Google Drive, where you will have access to this PowerPoint as a PDF, as well as the level 1 evaluation forms. That is for you to use. And for those of you that would like to use this PowerPoint and modify for your use in your club to share and use, you can have it. Just email me and I would be happy to share that PowerPoint with you for you to use. It is something that is as a resource, and you could use it, you could modify it, you could do whatever you want with it, but it's a resource for all of you. And I thank you so much for your time, and stay tuned for those of you that are staying on for the next session. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. So you have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone, and thank you.